Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through a whole stack of sources, really, to bring you the insights that matter so you can feel properly informed, without all the noise. Today, we're diving into something really fundamental: sleep. It affects everything, but it's often, pretty misunderstood. You might think you've heard it all before, but honestly, the sources we looked at today, they offer a kind of masterclass on how to genuinely perfect your sleep, like really wake up refreshed. And one of the big ideas is that, look, your diet, your exercise, supplements, none of it really lands properly unless your sleep is sorted, because sleep is quite literally when your brain detoxifies.
That's absolutely right. And this deep dive, we're going to unpack a really comprehensive approach. We're drawing from insights on, everything. Diet, your sleep environments, specific physical things you can do, even sound and essential oils, which is fascinating. The idea is to give you a roadmap, help you figure out maybe why your sleep is off, and crucially, give you practical steps you can actually take.
Yeah, that idea you mentioned about the brain feeling toxic when you don't sleep enough, that really jumps out. It's not just feeling tired, it's like a sign your brain needs that clean out.
Yeah.
So, okay, where do we even start with tackling this? Let's get into it. First up, our sources really hammered home the impact of diet, which makes sense, but maybe not in the ways we always think. They stress that if you're eating a lot of refined sugars, junk food, or even just snacking late at night, that stress in your gut can seriously block good sleep.
Yeah, and what's really striking is the advice to eat much earlier, like have your last meal by 4 or 5 p.m.
Wow, 4 or 5, that sounds challenging for a lot of people.
It does, it really does.
Yeah.
But the thinking is it gives your digestion plenty of time before bed, and for people who have issues with waking up to pee, intermittent fasting is suggested. Plus, cutting out snacks and going low carb to avoid those inflammatory foods like grains,
Right, the inflammation link. And here's something I found really interesting: the connection they draw between carbs and vitamin B1. Apparently, eating lots of carbs uses up a ton of B1 to process them. And if you're deficient, it can lead to this feeling of energetic legs and anxiety, tension, basically things that stop you relaxing.
which is not what you want when you're trying to sleep. It begs the question then, what should we be consuming? The sources point to things like kefir, fermented foods,
Yeah.
good for building serotonin, melatonin, the sleep hormones, and even more specifically, reuteri yogurt. Just half a cup a day.
Yeah.
Anytime, apparently. Super beneficial.
Reuteri, okay, interesting. But it's not just gut stuff, is it? They also got into minerals. And this one was pretty bold. They made a really strong case for sodium, saying low sodium can actually spike your cortisol, your stress hormone.
Yeah, that goes against a lot of standard advice, doesn't it?
Totally. They suggest an average person needs over a teaspoon of sea salt daily.
Wow.
And even adding a pinch of sea salt to your coffee for better sleep.
A pinch in coffee.
What? Yeah.
But it fits into the bigger picture they paint, which is about balance, right? Because potassium is also key. They call it a physiological relaxer. If you're low, your pulse rate can actually go up.
Makes sense. You need that balance. Okay, so that's food and drink. What about the place where you actually sleep? Your bedroom, temperature seems huge. They say trying to sleep when you're too hot, it won't work properly. Your body needs to cool down.
Right. That ideal range seems to be, 65 to 68 Fahrenheit? Pretty cool.
Yeah, cool.
Although, interestingly, they mentioned for people with cold feet, sometimes warming them up with socks helps them sleep better. So it's about overall comfort, too. And plants. Putting plants in your room for the oxygen. That was a nice little tip.
Yeah, I liked that. But what really stood out for me environment-wise was the focus on darkness, total darkness. Any light messes with your melatonin production. Any light at all.
Crucial.
And related to light, they talked about the type of light: blue light from screens, morning sun, that wakes you up, stimulates energy.
Right.
Whereas the evening light, those yellows, purples, reds, they have infrared rays, and that actually helps us wind down.
Which connects to sunlight exposure during the day, doesn't it? Over half the sun's rays are infrared. They penetrate deep, help make vitamin D, which is also needed for melatonin and good sleep.
Yeah, and they pointed out this correlation, since the 80s when everyone started avoiding the sun, sleep problems have gone up. It makes you wonder.
It really does.
Okay, so we've got diet, environment. What about lifestyle habits? Substances obviously play a role. Alcohol, for instance. It might make you feel sleepy.
Yeah, knocks you out initially.
But it actually wrecks your sleep quality, right? Prevents that deep, restorative REM sleep. So you wake up feeling kind of cheated.
Exactly. And caffeine, it's a stimulant, obviously. Coffee, tea, chocolate. Your liver needs a good amount of time to detoxify that stuff.
So that afternoon coffee might be hitting harder than you think.
Could be. The sources also, reinforce the basics, like regular exercise. We know that helps sleep. But they also went into stress reduction in a slightly different way. They suggested the best way to get rid of stress isn't just like meditating, but actually getting out of your own head.
How so?
Through hobbies that require focus outside yourself. Things like bird watching, hiking, woodworking, painting. Activities that ground you.
Oh, I like that. Getting absorbed in something else. That's a really practical take on stress. And another physical habit they highlighted was nose breathing. Provides more oxygen, apparently shifts your body into that relaxed parasympathetic state pretty quickly. Slow inhales, even slower exhales. That's the key.
Simple but powerful.
Okay, so moving on from general habits. The sources got really specific about physical stuff you can do, interventions almost, like addressing old injuries, especially if you have lower back issues. Stretching those areas can actually induce relaxation systemically.
Right.
They described one specific stretch. Lying on your back, arms up over your head, and you push your feet one way and stretch your arms the other, just creating that length.
Yeah, lengthening the spine. And then there was this device they mentioned, a plastic thing, shaped kind of like a hand.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
You use it for pressure on the mid-back, mainly for muscle relaxation, but also, interestingly, underneath the skull, right at the base, near the brainstem, to kind of calm the nervous system down.
Right, targeting the brainstem. Makes sense for relaxation.
And also pressure under the rib cage to help with like abdominal tension or bloating, which can definitely keep you awake.
Wow, that's quite specific targeting. Then there was the advice on sleeping position, which side to sleep on.
Ah, yes. They recommended the right side.
The right side. And the reasoning was sleeping on your left might cause congestion in the liver, and that could potentially press on the heart and stop you fully relaxing.
It's an interesting physiological argument. Worth trying, maybe, if you're struggling.
Definitely something to experiment with. Okay, what about supplements?
Magnesium came up strongly. Specifically, magnesium glycinate powder. About an hour before bed.
Glycinate, okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be good for muscle tightness, spasms, cramps. It generally helps calm the body. They suggest taking it in warm water.
Warm water, maybe with some chamomile tea or something.
Exactly, like a little relaxing ritual.
Nice. And thinking about the sensory environment again, but sound this time, what did the sources say there?
Well, they mentioned background static, like from a white noise machine. The idea being that complete silence isn't actually natural. Nature is rarely totally quiet.
That's a good point.
But even more unique was the mention of binaural beats. Have you heard of those?
A little bit. It's like two different tones, one in each ear.
Precisely. Two slightly different frequencies, and your brain sort of perceives a third beat, a rhythm. And certain frequencies are shown to help guide brain waves towards sleep states.
Fascinating. Using sound to actually tune your brain for sleep.
Yeah. And finally, essential oils. They highlighted a couple. Spikenard.
Spikenard, never heard of it.
Me neither, before this. But it's described as really sedative, very calming. And vetiver, which apparently helps induce deeper sleep.
And how do you use them? Just sniff them.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Breathe in the vapor, or you can rub a little on your temples or maybe on your chest.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. What does this all mean for you listening? I mean, this deep dive has given us so many different angles, hasn't it? From really specific diet changes, like eating way earlier, getting the right minerals, to tuning your environment temperature, light, and then these physical things, stretching, pressure points.
It really paints a picture of sleep not being passive at all. It's this active, complex process, and all these things are interconnected. And the source material really emphasizes that getting your sleep right is, quote, super powerful.
Yeah.
And they throw out this idea that if you've tried a lot of things and you're still waking up tired, maybe you're missing something incredibly powerful.
Which they suggest might be salt.
Yeah. Going back to that sodium point.
That is such a provocative thought, isn't it? That a lack of salt could be undermining your sleep. It really flips the usual advice on its head.
It absolutely does. And maybe that's a topic for another deep dive entirely.
Could be.
But for now, maybe just consider this. How could just one or two of these ideas, especially maybe one you hadn't thought of before, shift how you approach getting truly good restorative sleep tonight?
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and sleep well.